Rob 5 Reasons Sports. Hey Rob, hope you're doing well, my man. First season here in the PFL, and you're able to make it to the playoffs. Some other fighters usually take a year or two to get adjusted to the season format. Why do you feel like you had such good success coming into this year?
Playoffs wasn't the goal. The goal's the winning the title, and I've been eager to compete and to be fighting regularly for a few years now. It's been a struggle since my release with the UFC, so I'm super excited that we've gone back to back. It's awesome. It's awesome to have that activity and be able to just keep fighting and just, you have one fight and you're fighting straight away next. So obviously you got to make sure you're managing your injuries and you're not overtraining or you're not getting burnt out from all the training. So making sure I have like a little bit of time off after each fight, but then just kind of focusing and getting straight back into it.
Absolutely. Now, you have excellent striking skills with your boxing, kickboxing bouts, and your opponent is a multiple-time Brazilian national judo medalist. How do you feel the exchanges will go if they do end up on the ground?
Everyone's kind of talking about my striking at the moment, but I don't know if anyone realized I was, heavily grappling focused when I started. And, just before I got in the UFC, I hadn't really done that much striking. I was only just kind of picking it up. Into a high level. So I'm very comfortable on the ground. I'm happy to take him down and submit him on the ground. I think that's a huge part of my game. And I know I've been showing off my striking at the moment, but, I haven't stopped grappling. My coach, since I started back home, Friskus, he just missed out on competing in the Olympics for Australia in judo for a few years. So, he's a high level judo competitor as well as jiu-jitsu and wrestling. So, I'm used to that style.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of your grappling credentials, you've had 5 finishes in a row, one of those being a guillotine choke. How do you expect to get this finish going into this fight?
I can finish it anyway. If it stays on the feet, I think I'll knock him out pretty early. He's pretty wild and aggressive, but his defense isn't that good. And I think once he feels my power, he'll probably start looking to take me down. But I'm comfortable, ground and pounding or getting a submission. Wouldn't mind getting a sub since we've got a couple of knockouts in a row.
Absolutely. And last one for me, man. 2 wins away from winning that $1 million prize and the season belt. What would that do for you and your family?
The $1 million is obviously huge, but that's just a bonus to me. The goal for me is to be a world champion, and that's what I'm kind of staying focused on. 2 fights away, 2 wins, and I'm a world champion, and that's been, a goal of mine for the past 13 years. So I'm excited to fulfill that.
Awesome. Hey, I appreciate your time, my man. Good luck this Friday.
Max.
How you doing, Rob? This is Max Going from the Going Live Network. Thank you so much for taking the time.
No worries, bud.
Just had a quick question. Obviously, since your last fight, your last loss against Israel, you have strung together a very impressive resume here, 4 straight finishes. I was just wondering, were there any lessons that you maybe took away from that fight that you can kind of pinpoint to this impressive win streak you've put together?
Yeah, I definitely learned some lessons from fighting Israel. Even after fighting him, I got invited down and went and trained with him for a while, and even like how he approached going into the UFC, he actually turned them down for a few years before he was ready to go straight to the top. And I feel like I probably, I was so excited to get there, but I might not have been fully ready to be there, or at least competing against the top 10 guys in the world. So I've had that time off, like after the UFC, where I kind of took some time. I kind of improved. I improved on my striking. I had some boxing fights, and now I'm ready to show that I'm the best fighter in the world. So that's, I kind of learned that, and now I'm ready to go.
Awesome. And then just one final question for me. You are fighting under the bright lights of Madison Square Garden. Does it give you any additional pride fighting at such a historic venue? I can see the smile on your face right now.
100%. I still, as you said, every time you mention it, every time I think about it, I smile. It's an exciting thing. That's kind of probably every fighter's dream, to fight at Madison Square Garden. And yeah, it's pretty crazy that will happen in a few days' time.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to the fight, and thank you so much for the time. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
Delan.
Hey there, Rob. I appreciate you making some time.
No worries, bud.
I'm just curious because Madison Square Garden was mentioned, winning a world title. What are some other broader career goals that you have mapped out for yourself in MMA?
Obviously fighting at Madison Square Garden is one of them. World title, defending a world title, being recognized as one of the best fighters in the world. That's one of my goals. And then setting myself up post-fighting, having obviously the $1 million is a huge help towards that, but like owning a couple of properties and being financially stable after I retire from fighting.
Yeah, definitely awesome goals, man. And just one more from me. Do you think it's curious to have a nickname like Razor when you're sporting such a quality mustache there?
What do you mean? You want a mustache nickname?
I mean, you could probably go in that direction. I think it's impressive enough. Or are you thinking Razor's probably the one to go with from here on out?
We could change it up if you have a good idea. You know, I couldn't grow the mustache when I started fighting though. I was only 19, so now it's good enough that I could change it up.
I'll have to brainstorm something, man. I'll get back to you, but thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Any last questions for Rob before we let him go?
I'm sorry.
Conan, go ahead.
Yes, Rob. You mentioned about grappling. Could you tell us how you're still sharpening your ground game?
Sorry, could you repeat
No.
that? I couldn't quite hear you.
Yeah, please tell us about how you're sharpening your ground game nowadays.
You know, I've just been training. I train everything all the time. I've been training out at Factory X for the last 2 camps as well, and there's some really high-level guys there that I've been working with. Cody Brundage is a beast grappler, beast wrestler that I've been doing a fair bit with him. So, yeah, I'm not worried at all if it comes to grappling with this fight.
Okay. So since your first win in the PFL, did you have a chance to go back to Australia to train there, or did you stay in the US?
I've stayed in the US. I haven't been back to Australia since the first fight. I did my camp there in Hobart at HTC, and then since then I've stayed in Denver training out of Factory X. Just because of travel going back and forth, it's just like it's a long trip, and it's I didn't want to get caught up with anything like COVID or flights being cancelled, so I thought it was easier just to stay over in the States and train.
All right. Just could you mention the people you trained with while you were in the US?
So training at Factory X with Coach Mark, Cody Brundage, he's in the UFC. Dustin Jacoby, he's I think ranked number 14 at light heavyweight in the UFC. He just had an awesome first round knockout. Josh Friend, he's also in the UFC, a young guy coming up as a middleweight. They've got, I'm sure you know, but they've got a huge roster of fighters, and it's a really good gym there.